Can you briefly introduce yourself and your role in short drama industry?
Yeah, of course. My name is Sophia Xing. I'm the founder of Plot Party. Plot Party, we're a agentic AI platform for creating both hybrid and also AI native microdramas. We're 100% focused on microdramas, so a lot of the models, the workflows that we use are really tailor-made for this art form. Elements like character consistency, outfit changes, power shots, a lot of those are natively supported using our platform. And right now we have studios using our platform to produce shows. We also have platforms that are our partners as well.
Yeah, how do you tap into microdrama industry?
Yeah, so I've been focused on microdramas actually since 2018, 2019, when the first shows first came out of China. My background is in both AI and also games entertainment. So I've always been really fascinated about, what are the newest forms of entertainment that people actually love. And microdramas is really interesting because it's actually half psychology, half art, right? Half entertainment, half psychology. So I've always been really fascinated about it. And when it was time for me to start my own company, I initially actually thought about building a live action microdrama studio. And that was when I realized, the AI models were getting better and better. And there is a future where some part of microdramas could be more natively supported using AI. And that's how our company started to really zone in on our focus and built what we built.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why do you think short drama is psychology?
Yeah, because it's so much of it is, if we think about traditional Hollywood, right? Traditional Hollywood is always going to be making content for the middle of the bell curve. Why not the niches? Well, it's because when we're talking about a 200, 300, $400 million budget, for the ROI to make sense, it has to be for the masses. But microdramas is really interesting because it's really for a specific niche group of people. And the impetus is always, okay, what are some things that is maybe missing, some things that they're yearning for, some things that are, in their daydreams, and how can we make it a reality? So I think that part is just really fascinating. Even if we're looking at the genres that have progressed in the US, in Asia, right? Microdramas for older adults. A lot of it is about self-discovery. Microdramas for women, for men, for the younger generation. A lot of it is about navigating change, navigating the current. Maybe it's like going from student to work. Maybe it's going from work to getting promoted, going from, before having family to then having kids and navigating the mother father kind of role. A lot of those elements are just so natively embedded in microdramas. And in a way, giving audiences fair representation of what they truly care about, I think is really fascinating.
How do you define short drama and what's the core or essence of short drama?
Yeah, I think, on the surface, to me, of course, short dramas, but by the name of it, it's shorter in episodes, right? More scrollable content, in most of the cases, vertical. But what's really special for me is just that it's the viewers first and drama second. So short dramas is really about what do the users like to watch and to package it around in a drama. And whether it's a 20 episode, 40 episode, 100 episode drama, that's more a sign of where is the drama getting distributed. But the core of it is people want to watch content that makes themselves feel good given the stage of life that they're in. Now, how can we package that in a drama? And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, why do you think it's audience first? I assume that most of those products like film or TV that are consumer first, isn't it?
I think a lot of film and TV, it starts off from a small group of people, kind of their mental geniuses, the lore, the world setup that they envision. And it just so happened that because their thinking is so genius and because the world setup is so complex, people buy into the franchises. If you think about how the Star Wars, Star Trek, how the Harry Potters, all of these mega, millions and billions of dollars of franchises, they all start from someone sitting in their living room drafting a story from their imagination, which is valuable and fine as well. But what's interesting about microdramas is that you're starting from the audience before you even write anything to the story. You know, hey, I'm making this story for women who are between 30 to 50. I'm making this story for teens or maybe navigating going to high school. You already know exactly who you're building this for, as opposed to starting from the story first. And not to downplay and say story doesn't matter. Story absolutely does matter, but at the end of the day, is how deep is your understanding of the audience that you're serving. So I think fundamentally that's a little different from Hollywood.
I really like the answer that before you start writing, you need to know your audience because the ad buying logic that there's a niche market, there's a target audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that because a lot of the writers don't know. They just want to write a story they want to write.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, when we suggest those writers, they need to write a story that before writing a story, you need to know the target audience, what they anxious about, what their life is, describe them, and then write a story based on their need.
Yeah, for sure. Or even write a story that you would watch. Maybe and I think what a writer would watch versus what a writer would write sometimes is actually can be quite different because a lot of parts of writing, of composing is about what you think is artful, what you think is complex, right? You want to draft something that is grand, but in reality what you end up watching may or may not reflect that.
So can you explain us more about the AI tool you are building?
Yeah, so ever since the first stable diffusion, the first flux, ever since the models came out, there's always been a group of, I would call them AI forerunners. These are people who are super early to the technology and they're trying to experiment with all the models, do their own post training, do all of that to get the best results from the models. But really, that's still a much smaller group of people if we're thinking about who could actually benefit from the models. So our tool, the whole premise is we understand the models really well. Every time a new model, a new variation of the model comes out, we do all the evaluation to figure out what kinds of use cases are they good for, what kind of styles, what kinds of shots are they good for, and what's the best way to use them, both from a prompting perspective or from how do you chain them together. So our tech is really in, after having that understanding, we package it in a way that's really native to microdrama creation so that our users don't have to know, oh, today Sea Dance 2 comes out, next month Happy Horse comes out. Let me go try all of them and let me figure out how to use it. At the core, we're a multi-agent system where we orchestrate across a bunch of models, commercial, open source, and our proprietary post-trained models as well, so that we try to give the best quality. And the happy state, the state that we're trying to get to is you tell us your story, we'll present it to you in the highest fidelity possible to get you from an idea, a script, to a fully generated AI drama. Of course, today the models are not perfect, so sometimes you have to regenerate a couple times, but give it another year, it's going to look very, very different.
Do you help with the AI help with the script?
We can and we do. We actually did our own post training based on the understanding of what makes a good microdrama script. So we do help with the scripting, but I would caveat and say that out of the entire step, if you think about how do you make a microdrama, right? Script, coming up with the characters, locations, what they all look like, coming up with the storyboards, making a video, editing the video. This entire process, the part that the AI is the weakest is the scripting part. And to many, they think, oh, it's so easy for me to just put a story into ChatGPT and say, hey, give me a 50 episode script. But in reality, all of them are just really, really bad, especially for something like microdramas. So we still encourage a lot of our users to do their own scripting. But if they just want to try out an idea, if they're like, we trust the AI or we're going to let the AI do the first round and then we'll come back and do our own editing, we do have scripting agents within our ecosystem as well.
So it's more in production. You're more strong in production AI.
Yeah, I would say the current state of AI is the strongest in production. And it kind of makes sense across any of the AI models, any of the modalities, image, text, LLMs. They're all, the core foundation of the model is reversion to the mean of the corpus of training data. So at the end of the day, if you just rely on AI to write you a story, you're not going to get something that's super original. But so much of, we talked about this earlier, so much of microdramas is trying out new formats, trying out new original ideas, and whatever idea works, then you can keep on going with various variations of the ideas. But to get to that initial idea that's original, that's differentiated, it's really difficult to rely on AI for it. Sometimes our users would have an idea and they would use our scripting agent to say, okay, now give me 5 different possible scripts, given if my idea is I want to have a story where it's, a couple and one of them turns into a superhero or something like that, then we can help them with it. But it's still up to the human, especially on the creative side, to choose which one they actually want to pursue.
Let's pause for a second. Imagine you are in a crowded marketplace. Vendors selling cakes, jewelry, all kinds of things. And you are one of the vendors trying to sell a story. What kind of story will you tell? And more importantly, how do you keep people stop listening and actually pay? That's the narrative logic of short drama. I explain this in my book, Short Drama Writing 101. Write what platforms want. It's available on Payhip, Amazon, and Google Playbooks. Now let's back to the video. I also have a tough question, might be. So I've been to Chinese exhibitions, AI exhibitions, micro dramas. Every platform, Chinese platform, is launching their own AI tool. What's the difference between yours and theirs, or how can you compete with them?
You mean the distribution platforms, or
not distribution? They're having all AI tools for creation, for building their AI micro dramas.
Yeah. So I think if we're talking about the core mechanics, right? We need to write a script. We need to come up with the characters. We need to animate the frames. That system is super easy to set up. But why is it that there's still human in the loop required? Well, it's because while it's easy to set up the bare minimum, if we think about, okay, what do a director usually have to do? What do a storyboard artist usually have to do? There's actually a bigger level of quality, which is harder to quantify and it's really difficult to measure. So actually on our platform, the first version of the platform we built within 3 weeks to have, an idea to final video. But what took the longest time for us is to look at everything and do the fine tuning that's needed and make sure the quality is high. So let me give you an example. If in the micro drama it's the two of us having a conversation, right? And where's the camera placement? Is it behind me, over the shoulder, two shot of me looking at you? And maybe if there's a lot of tension, then zoom into your face. How do we make sure that the cadence is right? A lot of those things you can only get right if you actually fully tune your platform to the specific art form. So while there's a lot of players out there on the market, I think quality does count. When you actually input an idea and you let the AI run, how good is the actual generation? And then the other thing is, how tightly integrated are you with all of the various facets of microdrama creation? Whether it's if someone is going through a costume change, right? If someone is doing this and that afterwards, how can you respect that in the right way? And the last thing I'll mention is that the platform itself that we built, the underlying part is actually more similar to a game engine than it is to a media generation platform. So every element that we have within the entire generation stack, we note not only what they look like, the visual part, the image and video, but also who they are, what they do. So that, say if we have two characters and we already have an episode built out, right? How they would interact. Part of it depends on their visuals, part of it depends on their personality. Like a person who is really shy when they walk into a dance ball, or a person who's really confident, a person who's really bubbly, they're going to act very differently. And we do have all of that codified within our platform. So we're treating it almost like a game engine, in that we want to implement a lot of layers of metadata, not just the visual things, which a lot of microdrama platforms only do that.
Those creators are just everyday people, though, or they have to have a special background, like film backgrounds. They can use your tool.
Yeah, so every day, anyone can use the tool. It's very easy and straightforward. The agent is going to guide you through the creation. But we have seen that the people who are creating the best content are still the people who have some sort of TV and film training. And that's just a given, right? There's a lot of implicit things that you really need to train for to have the eye for it. Sometimes when you and I, when we look at a film, it's very easy from an audience perspective to tell the difference between a professional one and an amateur one. But for the amateur person, they may not be able to know exactly what things do I need to change to make it more professional. But I think the AI microdrama space is very interesting in that, because it's so democratized, there's actually a bigger willingness of amateurs to try to learn storytelling principles, because now it feels approachable. If we think about traditionally, someone who hasn't gone to film school, someone who doesn't have a bunch of produced works under their belt, it's actually very difficult for them to even get a job and to be able to practice. Whereas with AI, you pay $20 to a platform, you have all the compute you can use to practice, you post it online, you get real-time feedback. So in a way, a lot of people are getting more and more encouraged to try to hone their craft.
Do you think using AI that everyday people are easier to tap into producing?
For sure.
For sure.
For sure. And I think the other part is, microdramas, even in China, which is the most mature kind of geography for microdramas, it's still not tapping into every single potential niche population. Yes, we're seeing a lot of niches that traditionally is not represented being shown in China, but I think we're still in like the first maybe 30% of what this could be. And I think the really cool thing about really embracing AI for the everyday creator is that now all of a sudden for the niche that you live in, for the specific group of people that you resonate with, you can actually build content especially for that. I was actually talking to someone who is an investor, venture capitalist the other day, and she was like, "Why are there no shows for VCs or very few shows for VCs? If there's a show for VC, I would for sure want to watch it." But there aren't that many venture capitalists in the world, so it is fair that you wouldn't see a lot of VC shows on Netflix and such. But that just goes to say that there's a lot of undiscovered, unmonetized pockets of storytelling or story watching needs that I think for the everyday person who's not film trained, once they have the tools, once they feel empowered to do so, we're just going to see so many of those shows.
Yeah, I also have a question. Right now with the AI tool, it's easier for everyday people to have their own idea visualized.
Yeah.
But is it like it's like TikTok, everyone's posting their video.
Yeah.
But actually some videos will be seen, but some video will not be invisible, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. The content competition is very fierce, especially with AI, with it being so easy to produce. And I think in a way, people are going to value story more than visuals. Because now to have, say 5 years ago, if you can for some reason have a really grand visual of like an aerial shot and lights all dimming in New York City and a tsunami coming over, everyone's going to watch it because it's so hard to do. Especially as an indie studio. But now that stuff is popping up on social media left and right. Literally a couple of days ago, I think the trend in TikTok and Instagram is a romance scene of two people standing in front of a harbor, and then from far away there's a tsunami coming over, and then they were about to kiss and they run away. Right? That right now is a content trend that anyone can produce it. So I think going forward is going to be less focused on how much visual stimulation are you getting from a specific shot, but more about what is the story and how much does that story resonate with you. Which I think, different people have different takes, but I think it's just really exciting to think about story, because at the end of the day, story touches you more than just the visual. After you watch a visual, you may think, oh, it's kind of cool to see an explosion, but when you see a good story, you think about it afterwards, and it's kind of living in your heart.
You based in US.
That's right.
So how the US audience how they accept AI shows, AI microdrama? Do they accept that?
It's definitely something that's evolving. I think a year ago the acceptance for AI, there's a year ago I think there's way more people mocking AI and disliking AI than today. But the most successful AI shows that I've seen out there are not AI shows that are pretending to be live action filmed realistic shows. These are AI shows that are embracing the fact that they are AI and that they can do things that maybe traditionally you wouldn't be able to do in live action. They can do things where they can have cool special effects, visual effects that you otherwise wouldn't see in a vertical format. It's the really crazy end of the spectrum is the success of the Fruit Love Island trend, right? Yeah. And that kind of exploded overnight. And you have people who are criticizing it for, oh, this feels like slop and whatnot. But no one is doubting the fact that it's popular and people want to watch it. And everyone who watches it knows it's AI. There's no reason why it wouldn't be AI. It's so obvious, but people are still finding enjoyment out of it. And I think at the end of the day, that's where, at least in the near term and medium term, I think where AI can really shine. So topics like horror, sci-fi, period drama, romantasy, all of those with a $200,000 budget, you can't really do live action. But now you can do using AI.
Yeah, maybe just 10% of the budget.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Right now, generally AI shows 10K US dollar, you can already make a very good AI show.
Yeah. My last question is, what do you see the future of short drama?
Yeah, the future of short drama, I think, is going to become more and more culturally tailored.
Mm.
Right now, I think globally, outside of East Asia, you're still seeing a lot of the content, maybe content recipes that were popular and kind of getting adapted. But I think there will be more and more culturally native shows.
Mm.
There will be more and more shows that are shown on platforms that are genre specific. And something that I'm also really excited about is, of course, more and more shows are going to be made with AI. But if shows are made with AI, it's going to be really easy to have auxiliary experiences outside of the show. Because the actors are AI, the actors actresses are AI. So there's a lot that you can do. You can do gamified experiences, you can do companionship experiences. And at the end of the day, if a story really resonates with people, they want to keep on engaging with the story in some way afterwards. So I think thinking about microdrama as the center of the nucleus and having auxiliary experiences around it is something that I'm really excited about.
That's interesting, like an ecosystem,
Like an ecosystem. Yeah.
universe.
Yeah, it's almost like, Harry Potter is an IP, right? Star Wars is an IP. And if you think about all the ways that they're engaging with their fans, it's not just a book, a movie, it's merch, it's experiences, it's cards, collectibles, all of them. And when I think about especially AI native IP that may be incubated in a vertical drama format, all of those can be unlocked. Maybe not in the same exact formats, but all of them should be able to be unlocked. And nowadays, a lot of microdrama distribution platforms try to compete on CAC, on retention, on a lot of that. And the ultimate retention is an IP is on the platform, and after you finish watching it, there's still some reason for you to stay on the platform. And that's where I think auxiliary experiences come in.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
I'm just so excited that microdramas is getting short dramas, microdramas, it's getting more and more visibility and is getting more and more consideration. I think oftentimes, you know, especially in the past when people talk about microdramas, there's certain stigma stereotypes that they associate with it, right? It's lower quality, it's only romance. But I really think it's much broader than that, and I hope more people can recognize it for what it is.
Yeah, for sure.